draw attention to this really important issue. You know, last week we experienced a real landmark in America's history, perhaps the most sweeping anti-discrimination reform of our nation's military since President Harry Truman's 1948 desegregation of our armed forces, the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell. Unfortunately, though, as we learned today and have learned many other times, that repeal does not go far enough to allow all Americans to serve their country nobly and openly as who they are. Repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell has only allowed for lesbian, gay, and bisexual Americans to serve in our armed forces openly and has completely excluded the transgender community. Currently, in the medical standards of fitness of the armed services, gender identity disorder is lumped alongside personality disorders, transvestitism, and other paraphilias, and makes someone administratively unfit to serve. Today, we are joined by Ms. Rebecca Grant, a veteran staff sergeant in the Army National Guard, who on September the 9th of this year received her official discharge papers for having gender identity disorder. And though she served overseas in Iraq and Bosnia without incident, has received numerous medals and honors, and as recent as late 2009, received a favorable performance review, was considered fully fit to serve with excellent service potential, she was discharged nonetheless. The United States of America does not allow transgender folks to serve openly like 8 of our allied countries, including the UK, Australia, the Czech Republic, Poland, Canada, among others. 2 of those countries, the UK and Canada, go as far as to support medically sex reassignment surgery for their transgender service members. In America, I fear that we have a long way to go. Right now, we seek simply to remove gender identity disorder from the medical fitness standards booklet as a condition that makes someone administratively unfit to serve. Not only has Ms. Grant lost her career now, but she also has proven that we lose not just human power, but economic power as well. According to a recent Department of Defense performance report, the cost to train Ms. Grant and her replacement ultimately will be upwards of $50,000 in economic loss to our country because of this discriminatory policy. So I hope that we can see a change. I would like now to invite Rebecca as well as her fiancée Emily to share their story.
I would like to thank all my friends, family, and supporters for coming out, as well as the media, and bringing light to the issues that transgenders have, along with the gay, lesbian, and bisexual community. I joined the Army in August of 1999 between my junior and senior year of high school. Went to basic training following my senior year of high school, to Fort Benning, Georgia, then to Fort Jackson, South Carolina. Following getting back to my unit, I was deployed to Bosnia in support of Operation Joint Forge. I served there 7 months with the 223rd Military Police Company. It was a peacekeeping mission. When we returned, it was our first full day back was September 11th, 2001. So the time started to change in the military. We were clear for about 18 months, and then we deployed to Kuwait, with also the upcoming liberation of Iraq in support of Operation Enduring Freedom and Operation Iraqi Freedom. I was in both locations, Kuwait and Iraq, for approximately 11 months, and I returned in late 2003. Upon my return, I did a little work with the National Guard off and on, and then became a full-time member in the Army National Guard. I served honorably. I was promoted through the ranks all the way up to Staff Sergeant. All my performance reviews have been excellent, and I received many federal and state awards, including Army Commendation Medal, Good Conduct Medal, and State Service Medal, for example. In March, April 2010, I was outed by a fellow soldier. They were showing pictures around with me, and then everything started going downhill. People started showing prejudice against me, discriminating, harassment, and all this, of course, is similar to the issue we're dealing with bullying in school. It's just what kind of environment you're in that it changes. With this being said, September 2010, I was given a mental health eval at Fort Knox, and it was for transvestic fetishes. I was found fit for duty and able to continue serving. I was given a temporary profile for 3 months saying not to drill, not to do any kind of annual training, any field training because of safety and harassment issues. On the 1st of December, I was moved to Frankfort, Kentucky to work in the education department, and I worked there until something happened. Stress became overwhelming in March 2011. In August this year, I took a second mental health eval and was not found fit for duty, and it was for gender identity disorder and transsexualism. When I was found not fit for duty, I was given the opportunity to sign administrative discharge to discharge out of the Army. I did so just for the benefit of them and myself, because it was becoming very stressful again on me. When you're discharged, though, you're supposed to be done in a favorably way. It's supposed to be in good show of not just yourself but the military. And I don't know if necessarily this case is true. I have continuing medical issues with just wear and tear of being in the military, which some could come from Iraq and Bosnia. And upon discharge, there is a gap between the health care coverage I had and going to Veterans Affairs for medical coverage. With looking at the NATO countries, of the 26 NATO countries, there are 22 that allow gays, lesbian, and bisexuals to serve openly, the United States being one of the recent ones. And then also, as Chris Hartman said, there are the 8 countries that allow transsexuals to serve within the military. With education, this could change. People being informed on the different issues, not being closed-minded, not being ultra-conservative, allowing us to have the rights that we should have had as a United States citizen. With this being said, we need change. We fought so many times for different civil rights issues, women's movements, different racial movements, sexual movements, and we need to make sure that the gender cause is also made aware of. There's no need for discrimination in this country because we're supposed to be land of the free.
Good morning. I'm Emily Fritz. I'm Rebecca's fiance, and I'd just like to speak briefly on how this has affected not only her, but her and her family as well. I would first like to applaud President Obama and the military for repealing the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy. But as has been said, it does not cover those who are transgender. That is a shame because there are other transgender duty. Just witnessing what Rebecca has gone through has been a stress not only to her, but to me and to her other family members as well. Having her in the hospital has been an extra stress, worrying about her health and safety, and just seeing how she has been treated by the military has greatly diminished my appreciation, I suppose you could say, of the military. And I've just, I wish things had happened differently, and that the gender identity disorder would be removed from policies which can ultimately get you discharged from the Army.
Before we take questions, I also asked K.A. Owens if you could say a few words. K.A. is the co-chair of the Kentucky Alliance Against Racist and Political Repression, and he is a veteran Air National Guard.
Speaking on behalf as myself as an individual, we welcome all talented individuals to serve their country. We want as many talented individuals as possible to come and serve their country without any restriction on it. As co-chair of the Kentucky Alliance Against Racist and Political Repression, we don't want to see any group discriminated against or prevented from serving their country. So we fully support the Fairness Campaign and the ability of all individuals to serve their country in peace and in unity. Thank you.
So we've clearly stated a case that fairness is fairness for all. Repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell has not gone far enough. We hope to see transgender individuals the ability to serve openly and without fear of being discharged, or the ability to serve their country, America, in the future. And now certainly we'll open for any questions you may have of Rebecca or the Fairness Campaign.
Was it an honorable discharge?
It was an honorable discharge, yes.
You mentioned pictures were shown in 2010. What pictures?
Yeah,
You?
some pictures were found of me down at 4th Street Lab. Nothing inappropriate, just being who I was, and I know that the pictures were passed around between soldiers. Comments were made about the pictures.
And, like pictures, like why would those pictures be passed around? Why would they be? What were they saying about those pictures? That was.
I believe one comment is they showed the picture to someone and asked if she was hot, and the soldier said yes, and then they were like, oh, you know that's Sergeant Grant. Inappropriate comments were being made. Just the fact that immaturity of passing a picture around. Also.
Was Sergeant Grant female? Sergeant Grant.
Yes.
Was one of the
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Female Sergeant Grant.
So when these pictures are being passed around and all this really started to come down, and they kind of describe your process of emotions.
I really couldn't believe a lot of this was happening. I felt, ostracized. I felt outed within the military. I did feel safety issues, harm possibly could come, because there are a lot of closed-minded people, and you don't know who they are. When the process was going on, it went, even, through different stages. I did have a time when I couldn't believe that this was really happening. And then I got mad about it. I did. Trying to work with the military to stay in, and then eventually it just hit me, and I was down and depressed.
What kind of backlash did you and your fellow soldiers?
There were comments, there were foul language being used. The way looks were gone, the way they inadvertently viewed me in my job performance was down.
What were your duties before and what were your duties after?
The duties pretty much stayed the same. I worked with safety. I worked with actually processing discharges, making sure they were done correctly. Other personal actions. I worked with Army Substance Abuse Program and making sure that was done. Also other legal services, just human resources too. I mean, very experienced, knowledgeable in a lot of different areas. So I was also able to get guidance to need it.
Chris already touched on it, but I mean, you feel don't ask, don't tell the repeal, it doesn't go far enough, and can you kind of elaborate how you'd like to see the Army handle this?
And it's not just the Army, it's the military. With Don't Ask, Don't Tell, transgender, transsexualism is not included, and that comes from the medical standards regulation, which the Surgeon General of the United States has the ability to change. And also, if you reference the DSM-4, there also is reference to gender identity disorder, which I believe is being revamped in the new DSM-5. And it's just needs to be changed. I mean, the discrimination, the thoughts of it, and a lot of it needs to be through education of different, just the general public.
Have you heard from other transgender individuals, if anyone else is facing the same situation in Kentucky or elsewhere?
I haven't heard recently if any other transsexuals being discharged or having any issues. I'm sure there are. I'm sure a lot of others are not as public, possibly as I am, because it is a sensitive topic, and a lot of people do look at it. One of the good things about Louisville is we're open-minded than the comparable sized cities around the country.
What are you doing now?
I'm working on making awareness.
How long have you guys been engaged?
We've been engaged for 7 months.
And so, how did before these pictures surfaced, did any of your friends in the military, did they have any sort of idea at all before these pictures came about?
There were a couple, I believe, that did know, and the ones that I know that knew didn't have any issues with it. I didn't go, per se, strutting around them, but at the same time, they didn't give me any problem.
All right. Thank you all for coming out very much.